Top of the morning to ya. Welcome, my friends, to another episode of the top 10 favorite and from what I believe are the best performances by some of the greatest actresses in all of cinema. So you can talk. Yes, I can, I will, and I do. Start from 10 and then huffing, scrapping, and kissing my way up to number 1. Maybe not. We'll see. Lads and lasses, yes, I have seen every film attainable of these artists, so needless to say, these come from true and kickingly passionate accuracy. Not only, my friends, is it Women's Appreciation / History Month, but it, of course, is Irish American Heritage Month, and who is the number 1 female artist who fits that bill of fiery, passionate spunk that stands the test of time in all of cinema? Why, it's the queen of Technicolor herself, Maureen OHara. Born as Maureen Fitzsimons in her native Irish town Ranelagh, or / Milltown, she was always a ruckus tomboy who loved to scrap and play sports. Besides her amazing athleticism, she had a beautiful operatic soprano voice, just like her mother, as well as being one of the most gorgeous young girls in the valley. She was influenced to study theater, and that's when her real passion began to soar, studying at the Abbey Theatre as well as the Guildhall School of Music in London, being the youngest student to graduate there. She was first discovered by Mayflower Pictures in Ireland, but it wouldn't be until the late 1930s when Charles Laughton himself would discover her, and her film career would skyrocket. Maureen OHara, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the most underrated actresses of all time. I always say every top 10 that I do on this channel is extremely difficult, and guys, Maureen OHara is no different. She has given so many memorable characters that, yes, I could do a top 30. But again, if I break my own rules, that'd be breaking an oath, and Miss OHara certainly wouldn't approve of that. I strongly believe she has never been nominated for an Oscar because every performance she gave in every film is always her personal best, no matter how bad a film may be, and certainly she was no stranger of making ill films. Every great artist has a few, let's be honest. She always gave her fiery best, though. I also believe she was never nominated for an Oscar because she was never really taken that seriously as a real actress. Many have complained, including studio execs, she didn't have enough range. But how could she, when you had these studio execs putting her in a box and not giving her the real opportunities she rightfully deserved? Like the close opportunity of playing Anna in the musical film adaptation of Rodgers and Hammerstein's The King and I. Oh my God, she would have been perfect to play Anna and would have easily garnered her an Oscar nomination. Not to say Deborah Kerr was bad, she was fantastic, but her singing was mostly dubbed, and Maureen could have sang all the way through. But 20th Century Fox only saw her as, quote, the Pirate Queen or the Queen of Technicolor, and didn't think it would work. You blew it, Fox! In the long list of great, beautiful Hollywood actresses, Maureen OHara's case of not being taken seriously is certainly not the first, nor will it be the last, unfortunately. We can only hope that it will improve more and more over time. But anyone who is anyone, whether you work in the industry like I do, or a lover of films, we all love the power and loving Irish spirit of Maureen OHara. It's such a blessing to be an actress that no matter where you went, no matter what you did, you were loved by absolutely everyone. And that just explains the amazing humanity that Maureen OHara possessed, not only as an actress, but just as a living, breathing Irish woman. So roll up your sleeves and let's throw our punches as we talk about the top 10 best performances by one hell of an inspirational actress of strength, Maureen OHara. Starting off at number 10, we have The Fallen Sparrow, which is really an underrated film noir and one hell of a surprisingly unconventional performance from OHara, which was initially intended to be a vehicle for her specifically, But once you get John Garfield in the mix, oh, you're never sorry for it. He plays Kit, a Spanish Civil War vet who comes back home to find his best friend murdered. Who on earth can it be? Well, it can't be Tony, the beautiful yet mysterious hat saleswoman. Can it? Can it? I love that whole sequence where Garfield is asking her out to lunch and she fights back with, I don't go to lunch. And so he wants her help with deciding a hat to buy, making her try on hat after hat. O'Hara has said Garfield was her shortest leading man, since he had to stand on a box for their intimate moments. Her fierce performance here is a clear example of how much of a dominant screen presence she had, no matter what genre of film it was. And again, we only wish she was given more opportunities, especially film noir. What a lady. Number 9, At Sword's Point. A wickedly fun film among Maureen OHara's many swashbuckling films, which indeed include Against All Flags, The Black Swan, The Spanish Main, Sinbad the Sailor, and so on. But of all of her swashbuckling classics, her performance here is, without a doubt, the best of the lot, which I think exemplifies her given title, the Pirate Queen. Even though she doesn't necessarily play a pirate here, this film also highly exemplifies her perfect title of the Queen of Technicolor because of how radiantly, mesmerizingly gorgeous she was, especially in Technicolor. She plays Claire, the daughter of the original musketeer Athos, called upon by Queen Anne to defend France, along with the other descendants of the Three Musketeers, one of which includes Cornel Wilde as D'Artagnan Jr. Also titled as The Sons of the Musketeers, this fun Technicolor picture shows Maureen OHara in such a badass performance that we all have never seen before. Maureen OHara fencing like a mofo. Being the committed artist she was, she did the lot of her own stunts, up to a sword's point, see what I did there? Especially her own fencing. She kicks major French ass in this picture, posing as a boy until she's found out and the soldier says, I'll not fight a lady. And she says, I'm not a lady when I fight. So great. The film altogether is, it's mixed, not all that great, as you can imagine. But Maureen OHara's scene-stealing performance is what gives this film its tasty red-headed juice. Did that sound right? Number 8, Only the Lonely. Oh, such a fun, adorable film that every Maureen OHara fan adores, right? Written and directed by Home Alone's very own Chris Columbus, starring everyone's favorite, John Candy, as Danny Muldoon, a sweet Chicago cop who lives with his mother, played viciously, deliciously, and evilly by Maureen OHara. He meets Teresa, played by Ali Sheedy, and starts to fall in love with her. But how will his tough and heavily opinionated Irish mother take this? Chris Columbus had actually written the role of Rose specifically for Maureen OHara, which brought her out of retirement. She read the script and just fell in love with it. And how could she not? Her character is one of the best she's ever been given. She has all the fun with just speaking her mind, no matter who gets offended, even her own son. I remember when I first saw this as a kid, I was like, hey, the Culkin boys, what are they doing here? Oh yeah, it's a John Hughes movie, of course. But I was also just shocked with how horrible of a human being Rose Muldoon was. But yet, you are still charmed by her, because that's just the majesty of Maureen OHara, luring us in and loving her with how badly she insults people. Oh, I had a Polak friend once. She was incredibly stupid. Jesus, that dinner scene between those three is diabolical. Always referring to Ali Sheedy as that Dago girl it's unbelievably priceless. But we love how she progresses emotionally by the end, especially with that kick-ass attack on the plane. Of course, all in John Candy's worried mind. This was also technically the 6th film she and good friend Anthony Quinn did together, and they together in this film are at their most you For anyone who loves mother and son comedy dramas, you You will love the great chemistry between Johncandy and O'Hara here. Number 7, Dance Girl Dance. I certainly admire this film to the heavens and back, directed by one hell of a pioneering female director, Dorothy Arzner. Just wait until I do a video on her, by God. Starring Lucille Ball, amazing! And Maureen OHara as two friends part of a dance company, and Bubbles, played by Lucy, takes up burlesque, while Judy, played by Maureen, is still hooked to ballet. But when the company disbands, Bubbles agrees to hire Judy as her gopher, so to speak, and eventually becomes a burlesque dancer herself against her wishes. To top it off, they fall for the same man. Drama! Lucy and Maureen, two fiery redheads together, is certainly better than one. Their chemistry together certainly makes this film much, much better. Definitely helps that they were inseparable on set. And reportedly, they were together at lunch when Lucy first spotted Desi on the lot. Besides the fact that Maureen did some of her own dancing, with most dance sequences done by a double, obviously, Maureen gives great sincerity to the role of Judy. I mean, who can forget the classic moment when she was supposed to perform burlesque and she can tell the disgusting audience is drooling for it, clamoring for it, looking at her as a piece of stripping meat, and she refuses, following it up with a fantastic monologue. Go on, laugh, get your money's worth. No one's going to hurt you. I know you want me to tear my clothes off so you can look your 50 cents worth. When she says, what's it for? So you can go home when the show's over, strut your wives and sweethearts and play at being the stronger sex for a minute? I'm sure they see through you. I'm sure they see through you like we do. You experience one of the most important feminist moments to be featured in a film, to be released at the beginning of the 1940s. And yes, you almost wish there was more out of Maureen in that scene, just a little bit more. But it was her third film, and regardless, she still held her ground with the utmost strength that her Judy deserved. It sadly flopped critically and commercially, but after required reviewing through the 60s and 70s, it is certainly regarded as a classic to this day. Partial thanks, of course, to Maureen's strength here. Number 6, McClintock. Yes, I know it is also pronounced as McClintock, which I too always found annoying. You have everyone in the ensemble saying McClintock, 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 Mr. McClintock, Mrs. McClintock, while OHara mightily says her and John Wayne's character's name as McClintock, McClintock, McClintock. So needless to say, I'm going to go with Maureen's pronunciation there. It's like every time she says it, it's a verbal punch in the face. But yes, John Wayne and Maureen OHara in one broad slapstick Western comedy for the ages, very loosely based on Taming of the Shrew, as they play Mr. and Mrs. McClintock. Well, separated, since Catherine, or Kate, get it, has only come back to town to retrieve her daughter Rebecca when she returns back to their rich estate from college. All the while, McClintock is trying to settle peace between all sorts of land seekers, farmers, and natives. But can he control the firecracker that is Kate? In all honesty, folks, I have mixed feelings about this film. Yes, we get a chance to see John Wayne express his personal views of improper treatment to the natives, which has been shown in many films. But yet, it's okay to spank your wife and put her in her quote-unquote place? Yeah, even my old-fashioned mind ain't buying that one. Maureen famously said her bottom was black and blue for weeks since Duke didn't hold back on the spanking. The script is indeed flimsy and not of real quality, let's be honest, guys. However, what indeed makes this so beloved are the fun performances from Duke and Maureen. The sequence with flying punches and folks sliding down into the muddy ditch with the natives just watching back and forth is the best sequence of the film, with Maureen adding an extra pinch of spice. I love it so much. She wholeheartedly welcomed doing all of her own stunts, which was quite risky with all the work she does in this film, not to mention the final chase scene between she and Duke leading up to the spanking. She has some of the best lines, with chuckling at Humphrey after he asked to be with her romantically, and she says, "Why you pompous windbag." Number 5, The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Maureen OHara's big breakout role as the classic gypsy Esmeralda. God, she was gorgeous. Based, of course, on Victor Hugo's classic, Maureen was just coming off of Jamaica Inn, directed by Alfred Hitchcock, or Charles Laughton, however you want to put it. And Charles Laughton signed OHara on for this Oscar-nominated adaptation. Maureen as Esmeralda and Charles as Quasimodo are a pairing for classic novel adaptations for the ages. Both of them work so beautifully well together here because they were both such generous and giving actors, so they were able to really listen to each other and compliment each other at every turn. I love every moment she has in this film, especially with Frollo, played wickedly by Cedric Hardwicke. When she says, "If we really had the power of magic, do you think we'd choose to be outcasts? To be poor and persecuted always?" Being only 19 years old here, you already see such maturity, class, strength, at a level that you really don't see in many 19-year-olds in Hollywood today. Of all the Hunchback of Notre Dame, or Notre Dame, whatever you call it, adaptations, and yes, I certainly love the Lon Chaney and the Disney adaptations. Demi Moore, you were fantastic. But I say, honestly, Maureen was the most captivating and most raw, and even Kevin Kline's Phoebus can agree with that. What a woman. Number 4, Miracle on 34th Street. One of the greatest Christmas films ever made, and I only wish could be much, much higher because of how wonderful and brilliant this film is, but also how heartwarming Maureen OHara's performance is. She plays Doris Walker, a divorced, no-nonsense, serious events director who is forced to hire a new Santa Claus for Macy's. Thanks be to Kris Kringle, played just mesmerizingly by Academy Award winner Edmund Gwynn. But he certainly can't be the real Santa Claus, can he? Maureen was unsure of taking the role because she went back to her home in Ireland after the war to be with her family. But once she read the script, it was a no-brainer. It is certainly easy to understand why Maureen OHara has always said it was one of the greatest times she ever had making a film, simply because the cast and crew were amazing, joyous, and every day was just brightened up by the spirit of Christmas. Not to mention the commitment and spirit of Edmund Gwynn, who, in Maureen's own words, was believed to be the real Santa Claus. I certainly believe it. Little Natalie Wood became so close to Maureen, calling her Mama Maureen and Maureen calling Natalie Natasha, since that's Natalie Wood's birth name. All of their scenes together are so sweet. I love the moment when she says, "Faith's believing in things when common sense tells you not to." Huh? Just because things don't turn out the way you want them to the first time, you still got to believe in people. Classic. The chemistry between she and John Payne works well for the story because, mostly again, Maureen was always giving to her co-star, and the giving spirit certainly speaks loudly on and off camera for this film. Giving gifts to the cast and crew, the people who helped on the production, and always coming to work with a genuine smile. Never has Maureen OHara ever window shopped as much as she did on the set of this film. It remains one of the most heartwarming classics Maureen OHara has ever done in her whole career. Number 3, The Parent Trap. Oh, let's get together, yeah. Oh, come on, you know it. Oh, I used to love that song when I was a kid. Who can go wrong with this live-action Disney family classic with Hayley Mills and Hayley Mills, technically Susan Henning, Hayley's body double, hating each other's identical guts at camp, but then forced to get along, and it actually works. They come to find out they have the same beautiful mother, Maureen OHara, and the same beautiful dad, Brian Keith, who are divorced, so they decide to switch places to spend time with each of their parentals in a bigger scheme to reunite them. Ba-dum-bum, The Parent Trap. I loved this movie as a kid. My sister and I must have watched our VHS copy thousands and thousands of times, and it's a wild thing when you have both a childhood crush on Hayley Mills and Maureen OHara. I mean, that's normal, right? Don't judge me. This Oscar-nominated classic for Best Sound and Best Film Editing is beloved by all. So much that this film is often forgotten, and it's only the Lindsay Lohan remake that's mostly remembered. Blasphemy. Everything with the children in the beginning is so fun and wonderful. And then we have the sweet reveal of Maureen OHara as Maggie, Sharon's mother, in Boston, which I always found hilarious, that it's Boston and not Baston. It's when she comes down that staircase to see Sharon, but it's actually Susan. It's such a lovely moment and lovely continuing sequence of Susan spending time with her own mother. And we get to hear Maureen's gorgeous singing voice again. Maureen OHara has always been an amazing scene partner, and the chemistry between she and Brian Keith is absolutely no different. Being the first of 3 films they would do together, they light up the screen as a couple, trying their best to get along with each other, with how much their children are trying to reunite them. But that damn Vicky is still in the way. God, Maureen is fiery-tastic in her exchange with Vicky, the child. For all the sweet comedic sides of Maureen, her performance as Maggie always holds a special place in my heart. My goodness, she never loses her tough exterior, punching the hell out of Brian Keith in the face. Gosh, she was so cool. Number 2, How Green Was My Valley. The 5-time Academy Award-winning classic, no doubt, directed by the man, the myth, the legend himself, John Ford. Maureen OHara as Angharad Morgan is truly incredible. She plays the older sister of Hugh, played wonderfully by young Roddy McDowall, and she does her best to keep house with her mother, played exquisitely by Oscar nominee Sarah Allgood, in the good old mining town in South Wales, though filmed near the Malibu Mountains in California. There are so many gorgeous things about this film. I mean, of course, it's John Ford, and this was John Ford's first blessing of having the fiery grace of Maureen OHara stealing the scene with such hypnosis. Never has there been an actress so compatible with wind machines as Maureen OHara, because you may think that veil flow at the wedding scene was sheer luck, but nope, Ford had those wind machines blowing like crazy. I, among millions, love that scene, especially because we see the joy of her getting married to Evans, and then the fall, the regret in an instant, once she's on the carriage, because we know her true love is behind her up on the hill. The chemistry between she and Walter Pigeon as Mr. Griffith is just magical. When she's demanding and grieving for an answer with, "Why have you changed towards me? Why am I a stranger now? Have I done anything?" The scenes of desperation and passion like this one, as well as when she comes back home and the townspeople are judging her for perhaps leaving her husband, are what marked her as such an upcoming force, again at 20 years old at the time. Why she wasn't nominated for Best Supporting Actress as well for this performance, I won't understand. When Mr. Griffith said to Maureen, "You'll be the queen wherever you walk," he certainly was accurate for Maureen, for herself. By our liking, here are some honorable mentions for ye. The Red Pony, the 1973 adaptation, which was definitely a surprise for me, being the last film Maureen OHara did for 17 years until her comeback on Only the Lonely, based on the classic novella by John Steinbeck, re-teaming Henry Fonda and Maureen OHara as Carl and Ruth Tiflin, helping little Jody grow through the harsh challenges of taking care of a beautiful red pony colt, on top of working on the ranch when he can hardly take the tough love from his pa. I just adore this story indeed, and though I love the 1949 Robert Mitchum and Myrna Loy film more, Maureen OHara and Henry Fonda make this adaptation extremely worthwhile. God bless little Clint Howard, yes, Richie Cunningham's brother, as Jody here, but doesn't quite cut it. The scene in the bedroom is probably the best, with Maureen OHara just pouring her heart out with the great monologue to Jody. It's utterly spectacular that it had to be mentioned. Sentimental Journey, sought and produced as a Ford tissue box, not handkerchief picture, with Maureen OHara as Julie Beck, a famous Broadway actress who all of a sudden is diagnosed with this unknown disease, but will die at any moment. And she and her husband, played by John Payne, can't have children. So after meeting a cute little orphan Hitty, they decide to adopt her and build a loving family before Julie leaves. I won't spoil it for you if you haven't seen it, but halfway through the film, it really collapses in my opinion. No thanks to John Payne's painful performance. I'm sorry. It's honorable because Maureen OHara was sick and tired of the second fiddle pretty wife pirate prize roles she was constantly doing and wanted to be taken more seriously as an actress at this time. Understandably so. Once she read this script, she lobbied to get this role, and without a doubt, she is the best part of this movie, giving her dearest and best commitment, which was more than what this film deserves, let's be honest. The Deadly Companions, Sam Peckinpah's directorial feature debut, co-produced by O'Hara and her brother, Charles Fitzsimons, funny enough, and would be O'Hara's only producing effort, and well, working with Peckinpah probably had a lot to do with that. Maureen OHara would name Sam Peckinpah as the most difficult director she had worked with, believing he had no idea what he was doing, and being his first feature, you can understand why. Besides its issues, it really is quite a fascinating picture, which I still like, telling a dear story about a dance hall hostess's son getting accidentally killed by Yellowleg, played greatly by Brian Keith, during a bank robbery. And to right this wrong, they agreed to accompany her to Siringo to bury her son, hoping the Apaches won't take them down first. This film works mostly because of the great performances of Brian Keith, but most of all, OHara, on top of her beautiful serenading during the opening credits. Sitting Pretty, yes, you can't go wrong with the Kings, Robert Young and Maureen OHara, hiring Lynn Belvedere, played brilliantly by Oscar nominee Clifton Webb, to babysit their 3 rambunctious boys, but caught completely by surprise with Lynn Belvedere being a man and not a woman? Because only women can take care of boys, right? This is definitely another one of the finest examples of Maureen OHara showcasing her sweet comedic chops, especially when she first meets Mr. Belvedere. God, it's really a lot of fun. Mr. Hobbs Takes a Vacation, which, yes, again, you can't go wrong with this family comedy again, pairing the magical Jimmy Stewart with Maureen as Mr. and Mrs. Hobbs, wanting to take a nice getaway on the beach just for 2. But Peggy, played by Maureen, wants the whole family to come. And once they arrive to their beach house, it certainly does look like the Addams family's beach house. And thus the wacky calamity ensues, especially with Fabian coming in the mix. Maureen is definitely more on the sidelines for this film. It's more of a Jimmy Stewart vehicle, but she and Jimmy Stewart are beautiful together, and you can never go wrong with her, again, her comedic timing, making a weak script, again, much more fun than expected. Maureen always brought the fun. Number 1, yes, my dear friends, The Quietman. How on earth could it not be? This love letter of a performance to the beautiful republic and country of Ireland has and always will remain as the most beloved performance given by Ireland's own Maureen OHara. She plays the mysterious, feisty, and captivating Mary Kate Danaher, a poor maiden who lives with her older brother, Red Will Danaher, played by Academy Award nominee Victor McLaglen, who tries to battle Sean Thornton, played by the Duke, for Sean's land. But Sean doesn't want to resort to violence, recalling his fatal past, and more than anything, wants to earn the hand of Mary Kate. It's truly a lovely and traditional tale of the ages in the most endearing and positive ways. It puzzles me to this day how John Ford, the John Ford, struggled for almost 10 years to get this film made. No matter how much money and how many Oscars he earned for the studios, they still didn't believe this picture would make money. So off Ford with his production company, Argosy, Wayne, and OHara went to Republic Pictures to get the film made. But they would have to make Rio Grande first. I mean, not a bad picture at all, being an obligatory project. Filmed on location in the beautiful countryside town of Cong in County Mayo, we have John Wayne and Maureen OHara at their best in their second out of 5 films they did together. It certainly meant a lot to the both of them, being a family album, practically having their own family featured on the film as well. Maureen's own brother, Charles Fitzsimons, pops up as Hugh Forbes, and she was able to be with her daughter all through shooting on location. I say a leading man is only as good as their leading lady, and Maureen OHara certainly makes Wayne better, sexier, as Maureen put it, and matches the strength of the Duke. Kiss for kiss and punch for punch. No one at the time of 1952 could play the role of Mary Kate than Maureen OHara, giving us every piece of her best. Every piece, whether it's the punch across the face that John Wayne stops with his hand, breaking Maureen's hand where she had to be hospitalized, her beautiful singing sequence, the amazing forceful walk back with Sean and Mary Kate from the train to the Danaher home to battle and earn his wife, which is, yes, reviled by most today because of its appearance of sexism. But this actually comes from an ancient Irish tradition of 2 clans battling each other for one to earn the bride of the other, literally called dragging home the bride. Whether it's right or wrong, of course, any sensible person can understand, but being based on Irish tradition, we can embrace it in the context of the story and how freaking hilarious it is. "Oh, Mary Kate, you dropped your shoe." "Oh, thank you, sir." As Wayne is dragging her along and Maureen accidentally falls on the ground where Wayne drags her through some patchy parts of the field and there was sheep poop planted by Wayne and Ford. Horrible. But all in good fun, right? Yeah, I can enjoy that sequence continuously, just like I can enjoy all the beautifully romantic sequences, like the fling around when the wind is blowing the hell out of her and they embrace. Oh, so classic. Or the storm and how soaked they both are, held to each other so close. And then when they jump and break the bed, it's unbelievably passionate that it makes every tough-skinned brute out there melt. We have it all from Maureen here, that it's no wonder that this is watched by millions every St. Patrick's Day, but also why it was Maureen OHara's personal favorite in her whole career. Maureen OHara should, without a doubt, be looked at as one of the most leading examples of feminism in Hollywood. Why? Because she really didn't take any crap from anybody. Even her favorite director, John Ford, on the set of A Quiet Man, when Ford was yelling at her, and she whipped back, "What would a bald-headed son of a bitch know about hair lashing across his eyeballs?" Good God, she could have been fired for talking back at Ford. But Ford embraced it with laughter because they were all friends. She was able to be her natural, strong self without making any enemies on set. They never looked at her as threatening, so to speak, even though you knew she could kick your ass. But she could hold her own. As she says in McClintock, "I'm a big girl and I can take care of myself." She absolutely could. Now, of course, her personal life involving her first 2 marriages weren't great at all, especially with the horrid Will Price, who physically and emotionally abused her. But she knew that was going to be the last time she would take that from a man, let alone her own husband. That led to a future debacle with Confidential magazine, whom published harsh claims that OHara was engaging in sexual activity during an innocent screening. She sued the magazine for $5 million and won the case, which was settled out of court, and put the tabloid magazine out of business. How do you like them apples? Once she married Charles Blair, her life was full of bliss until his tragic death in 1978, which was why she kept herself in retirement from movies. But even in retirement, she was always active, always giving, serving as the president and CEO of Antilles Airboats, being a successful magazine publisher, setting up golf tournaments in Ireland, being the Grand Marshal leading the St. Paddy's Day parades in New York City, and constantly volunteering. How's that for a woman with quote-unquote no range? For all of her work and service, she became the first woman to receive the John F. Kennedy Memorial Award for Outstanding American of Irish Descent for service to God and country, and also deservedly so receiving the Honorary Academy Award in 2014 for her work in film, among so many other honors. Out of her own amazing autobiography, Tis Herself, Maureen has said, I have always believed my most compelling quality to be my inner strength, something I am easily able to share with an audience. And thanks be to God she did. Because of that inner strength, she has inspired countless actresses and actors for that matter. Whether they be from Ireland or wherever, she inspired them to be themselves, reveal who they are, and to own their true inner strength. Damn, I really wish I knew what she whispered in Duke's ear so I can say the same to you guys. But it most definitely wasn't very pleasant given Duke's surprise and natural reaction, so I can't do that to you. I love y'all. But anyway, tell me, my friends, do you agree with my picks? What are your favorite performances by the Queen of Technicolor, the Pirate Queen, the woman of strength herself? Please share in the comments below. I always love hearing from you guys. If you like this, I dare say, please click like, hit that subscribe button. It doesn't cost anything, but you know what does? My Patreon page. If you do appreciate the channel here, guys, I would love to give even more to y'all with just a simple subscription to the Patreon page. I know you guys don't like to hear it, but it really is always appreciated. And as always, my dear friends, thank you all so very much for watching. And we end on a great Irish saying, may you get all your wishes but one, so that you will always have something to strive for.